Hi, and welcome to another edition of the Journey to Awakening podcast. I'm your host, Ron Ario, author of Journey to Awakening and the Quantum Performance Coach. And I've got a special gentleman today here. His name is Phillip Hoare, and he is an autoimmune specialist and transformational health coach. And let me just minimize my screen here for a second and tell you a little bit about Phillip. Phillip is an autoimmune healing specialist, transformational health coach, and international speaker who is overcoming his own incurable autoimmune disease. Phil's research, knowledge, and teachings are based on the notion of thinking outside the health box. Phil's mission is everyone should be free of their autoimmune disease and get their life back. On Phil's program, The Immune Boosting Solution, he guides you through your health challenges and uncovers the real root cause of the autoimmune disease. It's time for you to thrive. And Phillip, I'm very happy you were recommended to chat with me and get this really important information out there. And before we actually jump in to your work, I'd just have a couple curious questions. Anything happened when you were younger that would have led you, in looking back, that would have led you to be on the path you're on right now?
Yeah, definitely, Ron. Thank you so much for letting me be in here. It's actually a privilege and an honor, so thanks a lot. Yeah, I mean, if I go back in my, what sort of got me into this journey where I am now, about 22 years ago, my brother was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And tough thing to deal with as a parent. I'd seen my folks change in an instant. And, he got the brain tumor. It never made sense to me. So, because I always questioned everything, because I always like to go against the grain and challenge many things, which I do. And I looked at these medical records, and it didn't make sense. And 2 years before he was diagnosed, they said brain tumor ? On his actual medical records. So I was like, hold on, this is strange. In the whole process, he basically had a hemorrhage of the brain because the brain tumor was in half the size of his head. And we had to really, switch off the machines. Freaking hardest moment of my life, turning point for me. And I'd seen my folks change in an instant. And still today, my dad only now talks about this about 2 years ago. It took him 20 years to really talk about it. And it still challenges me today to bring it up, but not in a negative way. It's more in the way of, I'm actually kind of grateful for my brother for passing, because that may challenge a lot of your listeners, because if that never happened then, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today and helping many more people with their own autoimmune disease. Because I've got one, I used to have two, and through this whole journey, I got psoriasis. And I was reading and researching. I've done so many different diplomas in health, nutrition, and fitness, and kid nutrition, body transformational stuff, all that. And my skin wasn't healing. So me being me, I didn't like the lotions, the potions, the pills, and the supplements. So I decided that didn't make sense, because I was doing all these things and I wasn't getting results. So I thought, let's look within. Because just like your work, it's all got to look within. So I said, they'll say you are what you eat, but it's actually you are what you absorb. So I started looking at that, started cleaning the body out from within. And then lo and behold, after doing 3 quite intensive digestive detoxes, sort of about a 2-week apart from each other, I released this toxic sludge out my body, and my psoriasis basically just reversed itself. Or let's say the symptoms of my psoriasis was gone within 7 days after that. And since then, and over time, with life and stress and all these other things going on, I developed another condition called vitiligo. Now, for your viewers who don't know what vitiligo is, it is an autoimmune condition where it's same as what Michael Jackson had. He was black going white. I was just white going a lot whiter. So you lose the pigmentation in the body up under my neck, under my arms, inside of my legs, my backside, my man bits of all places, not the most fun thing. And people see you, or anyone with a skin condition, I said this very carefully, as a leper. And it's a real harsh comment there, because people are so cosmetically, everything's about the look and the aesthetics and what have you. So when you've got a skin condition, no matter what it is, you judge quite quickly. It's just human nature, and it's just the way we conditioned. So for me, I've got a patch on my neck here. I've lost the pigmentation, which was a lot smaller now than what used to be. So I grew my hair long to hide it away. As you can imagine, because you're talking to someone, it's like, here's my eyes, look at me here, not there. So it used to frustrate me because I wasn't being seen. Because the emotional side of a skin condition is actually you want to be seen, but just not like that. So this whole journey happened. I started reversing my vitiligo actually started reversing through some really interesting, simple things, which I was doing. And also where you have the hair in the area of the vitiligo, like under my arms. I've got white patches under my arms. And so the hair follicles actually went white. They lose all their color. So for me, I just kept on doing what I was doing. And lo and behold, my skin started repigmenting. And even the hair color actually went dark again. That's never, ever been seen with people with my condition. So I knew I was onto something. And that's really my whole sort of journey. And I really started doing a couple of things, getting some great results. So I went out and looked for some sick friends. I know it sounds so weird because I had to test the theory, just not on me, but on looking at other people as well. Mm-hmm. So I had a friend of mine who was referred to me. She had MS, that was it. And to cut it really short, I had a chat with her, and within 5 months of working with her, her symptoms of MS were gone. And then she actually fell pregnant. And then she's now become a mom. She got a beautiful baby bouncing boy. I think it's about 5 months old now. And all the symptoms of MS are gone. So I sort of then I go, you know what, there's something just amazing what I'm doing. And I started going deep into it. And I believe I found the missing link between reversing every autoimmune disease on the planet. It's a real direct, challenging statement. So I mean, it's what I do is pretty cool. I love it. I'm so passionate about it. And I always said to you, I want to see people shine. That's my goal. So that's really how that event happened, from a brother passing to now. It's just turning to something painful to something really pretty profound and beautiful. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let me ask you, how did you determine that you had found the missing link, for those that like question the statement, you know?
Yeah. Well, I'm results driven. It's, anyone who's, let's say, in any sort of business, they want results. That's what they're after. And so I came across this one thing called, and I always have this little ball that I carry around with me. Think of this as one of your cells. Now, when your body is acidic, your cells basically lock up and they turn into a brick. Essentially what we do, we make the cells nice and soft like a sponge, so they can absorb nutrients, utilize them, and eliminate them. And then we clean up the liquid around those cells, which is your extracellular fluid. And these cells, essentially, they get to breathe. That's called cellular respiration. So that's essentially, we get the cells to breathe, every single one of them. It takes time, it doesn't happen overnight. But it is, yeah.
So I'm just going to interject there because I'm making a correlation right now, and that is that our cells have a absorb and excrete, just like our body. And I would think that most people do not see their cells as performing that function, but just with you saying it right now, I had a shift in awareness, just understanding that. So go ahead, continue.
Yeah, cool. And interject anytime, because a lot of the stuff I share can challenge many people. So if it's challenging you or you're questioning it, ask me straight away, because then everybody's going to learn, which is cool. And cellular respiration is like, think of the ocean. You've got those little things that always do this, in the ocean. And so they're taking nutrients from the water, utilizing them, and then excreting them. That's exactly what your body's doing. So every single cell does that. So it's quite interesting. And when your body, the cellular respiration happens, your body then, for that to happen, has to be in an alkaline state. And when that happens, your body becomes oxygenated. And when you become oxygenated, you've got more energy. So it's not about the coffees and the energy drinks and all these other things. It's that if you get your body in a state where it's moving and breathing correctly, your body can actually eliminate toxins a lot easier. And that is how, really what I've sort of come up with, and how people are eventually getting great results. And that can happen quite quickly, anything from 3 weeks to 3 months to 12 months.
Okay. So including myself, most of us have spent a lifetime not necessarily analyzing what they put in their body or understanding that there is a consequence to everything we put in our body. And I would call that a state of unconsciousness, literally just a state of unconsciousness. So this is the Journey to Awakening podcast. So it's about people becoming more aware, becoming more conscious. So what you're describing is a process of becoming more conscious. And just what you mentioned regarding the cells aspirating really affected my consciousness because I was never thinking of it in that way. So what kind of process did you personally go through consciously as you started becoming more aware? Because, you know, everything's internal. So if everything's internal, how profound was your experience in discovering this information internally?
Yeah, cool question. Well, it started with me doing a lot of digestive detoxing. Now, there's something that I usually don't talk much about. It's called mucoid plaque. Now, think of this as your colon wall. You get this basically this black tar that coats it. Now, if that coats the colon wall, especially your small intestine, that's where all your nutrients get absorbed through your small intestine. So if that's coated and dirty, well, we've got a problem. Doesn't matter what supplements you have, what herbs you're taking, what organic food you're taking, you're going to get lack of absorption. It's not what we eat, it's what we absorb. That's key. So I went down that path and I managed to work on some things there. And then my body started getting slightly better. My energy came up. But this has been playing around with this for 15 odd years. And I basically perfected it in the last sort of 3 years. And then the other thing as well, every autoimmune disease, we always get it out there. It's linked to inflammation. That's the big word out there, inflammation, all the time. Now, then I thought, how do we reduce inflammation with food? Everybody's going out there and a lot of them are juicing and all these other things. I'm not a fan of juicing because 100 years ago, we never had juices. It doesn't make sense that. That's my theory. And for all those people who are juicing, I get it. I was also doing the same thing. So I've changed things. So now, then I started thinking, well, inflammation, how do we get rid of inflammation? So I started looking at food and I played around with it. And a lot of people are saying fish oil has got omega-3s in, which reduces inflammation. It's like, yeah, okay, it does. But then I looked at omega-6s and omega-9s. Now that's all animal products, dairy, all nuts and seeds and oils. Right? That's a quick rundown of that. Then I started thinking, how come omega-3s are better than omega-6s and 9s? So fish oil, yeah, it makes sense. But then omega-6s and omega-9s contain something called arachidonic acid. So this arachidonic acid causes inflammation. So I thought, hold on, fish oil has also got arachidonic acid in. So for me, common sense prevails. If it's got arachidonic acid in, causes inflammation, the same as omega-6s and 9. Then I thought fish oil wasn't deficient. So I started searching, looked more. Then I found something, 2 simple ingredients, chia seeds and flax seeds. Now, flax seeds are also called linseeds, and they are very, very high levels of omega-3. So what I was doing, I was consuming quite a large amount of them, anything between a quarter cup to a full cup a day of these chia seeds and flax seeds stroke linseeds. I actually call them checks, chia seeds and flax seeds. So I just call it checks. It's just easy to remember. And that's what I was doing through foods and what have you. I was combining that together. So the omega-3s will reduce inflammation quite quickly, and having no omega-6s and 9s, they will actually increase inflammation. So I said, well, easy thing, take out those ones, put lots of omega-3s in. And that was one of the first steps which I discovered by reducing inflammation in the body. And that's really how it started, was one of those. So yeah.
Beautiful. My wife started taking the fish oil a few months ago, and she started breaking out in hives. And we were trying to figure out what was causing that to happen. So she started dropping one supplement at a time. And when she dropped the fish oil, the hives went away.
Yeah.
She was
and you know what? Yeah, and so interesting when you say this, because hives is cause for inflammation, but it's also linked to something called the mast cells, M-A-S-T. When the body's acidic and got inflammation, the mast cells are always on. You can think of them like these lights going all the time. And when the mast cells are always activated, they release something called histamines. So that's what hives is the body's actually releasing histamines. So when we become alkaline, reduce inflammation, the mast cells clean up and switch off, and it's not releasing histamines anymore. And that's how you can actually eliminate anyone who's got allergies, because it's like pollen issues or what have you. It's all the dust issues. It's all these mast cells.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what is autoimmune disease?
Well, they put us in this little block and they say, your body's attacking itself. I just think it's a label. We don't know what the heck's going on with you, and we're going to stick in this block and off you go. And that's what it comes down to. There's a massive amount of people with autoimmune conditions, millions and millions. In the States, I think the last figures I heard was like maybe 60, 70 million, even more than that.
So is it just like a label that they stick over a wide variety of illnesses and refer them to as autoimmune disease?
Yeah, I believe that, because they say to you, your body's attacking itself. And I'm going to explain this in my own sort of basic theory. Now, maybe we spoke about the cells, and all the cells are basically need to be soft like a sponge. So if you take a sponge and put it into water, you squeeze it, it absorbs the water, you take it out and you squeeze it again, and all the water comes out of the sponge. So that's how you want to get your cells nice and soft. Now, when the body is acidic, these cells, I use a theory called they lock up. They get sticky and hard. So they come like a brick. You're not going to absorb much nutrients into that, and they're not going to be really soft at all. So nothing's going to happen. So when that happens, the liquid around your cells is basically called the extracellular fluid. That is also acidic, so that the cells aren't going to do any function. Their function is inefficient. But the interesting thing is, when toxins build up in the cells, the immune system comes along. They're the soldiers. They come along, hang on, there's a virus, bacteria, or fungus, or pathogen, or toxin sitting in the cell. Their job is to clean out house. So what do? They want to clean out house. Now they become an overactive immune system. They're here to do their job, to protect you. So then the medical fraternity basically come along, your immune system is overactive, it's wired, let's actually now suppress it. Let's switch it off. So now you go on autoimmune suppressants because your immune system is too active, so they want to calm it down. In the short term, it actually can help. Long term, I don't think it's a good thing. Now, it's like saying to you, like, let's say you got these soldiers on enemy lines. Guys, don't worry, here's some beers, here's a box of weed, do your thing, and just relax and do nothing. And they just basically line enemy lines, and they're not defending them, not defending the enemy lines. That's exactly what happens here. So you go on autoimmune suppressants, your immune system is not really doing so well, and you're always now susceptible to more colds, flu, and all other conditions. So that's really the whole thing. Now they label you, your body's attacking itself. So that's really what it is. But the immune system is actually protecting you. It's their job to protect you. So that's the thinking where I like to sort of explain what it is, because your body ain't that stupid to attack itself. If you really honestly think about that, it's not stupid. It's very freaking a wise, amazing machine we've got here.
It's an incredibly amazing machine. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I always say this, the same intelligence that divides your cells blossoms to flower. You know?
I love it.
And so that's how intelligent our cells are in our body is. It's got all the wisdom and intelligence of the universe. And we're not separate from nature in any way, shape, or form. We are a part of that fabric of reality, and we've lost contact with that. You know, we've literally lost our connection to nature and the remedies that nature has readily available, to us.
I love it. I don't jump in there. I love that you say that about we're not connected to nature. And this is something where you might have heard the term grounding. They always say, go barefoot and touch the earth. Or that saying, barefoot and pregnant, because when somebody's pregnant, they're demineralizing. So to get minerals from the earth, touch the earth barefoot, or jump in there, lie in the sand, or get in the rain, or, jump in the ocean. So then you can get mineralized from the earth. And the interesting thing is, there's positive and negative. Now, not being positive like happy high notes, that you're all excited. I'm talking about electrical charge. So when your body is in a positive state, you're unhealthy, you're prone to disease. When you're in a negative state, you're basically in a healthy state. So by going grounding, it actually puts your body in more of a negative state as a negative charge. Therefore, you actually become healthier. And you also reduce inflammation. So
And when you say positive, negative, you're talking about ions, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, and also on the grounding aspect, my wife and I are both very sensitive. So as soon as we sit down on some lawn or this or that or whatever, you just feel it. And I've always interpreted grounding as a frequency thing because
Yes.
the earth vibrates at the same frequency that our heart center vibrates, right? Or the energy. And so I've always felt an energetic connection just as I'm getting into that frequency mode,
Yeah.
Yeah, can't live without it.
Yeah.
Or just grounding energetically in meditation, anchoring myself down into the center of the earth and into my soul star and just raising my vibration and frequency.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. And it's so cool because when I work with certain people, like we can put them in a negative state of about minus 500, minus 550. When you're in that state, your body starts healing and your cells start doing their function. And that's really cool. You do it with food.
That's
really
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Food, remember, food is energy. I mean, food's energy. I mean, we can go into such a deep discussion that when you cook it and burn it and everything else, you lose the energy. So when somebody needs to heal, they've actually got to flick everything over and have food that's a lot of based on energy, which means you need to have raw food. So that's really the angle that I work with. Yeah.
Yeah. Why do I feel like this interview is going to turn my life upside down? But anyway, that's another story. Okay. So what are some of the myths surrounding the autoimmune disease?
Well, let's look at it like this. There's about 7, 8, 9 different body systems. And let's look at neurological as a perfect one. Now, any neurological condition is like Asperger's, autism, GBS, Mori tooth, Parkinson's, motor neuron disease, just to name a few. And it's all linked to something called quinolinic acid. This is profound information. It's profound. Now, people are treating the individual conditions. I actually say, let's treat the body system. Makes more sense. Because in this digestive system, there's a whole array of other issues there. Treat the body system and the condition heals itself. Now, if you think of, and I love spending time on the neurological system because that's your wiring, basically, that's what's happening. So if you think of the explanation of, let's say this is an axle of a motor vehicle, and then you've got the grease on it. That's what it does. So everything flows properly, and you've got the bearings like the wheel spinning around the axle. Now, we know if we throw some sand on the grease, the bearing is not going to be that efficient. It's going to grind, it's going to damage, and it's going to damage the axle itself. Now, if you think of the neurological system, that's a really simple way to explain it. There's something called the axon, which is in part of the brain. And so there's the axon, but what coats it is the myelin sheath. And the myelin sheath is the grease, which sends electrical signals all the way down from the brain to all the parts of the body. And so everything can function properly. But now if we put sand on this grease, which is something called quinolinic acid, that quinolinic acid is basically a neurotoxin to the body. Neuro is neurological, toxin is toxicity. So it's a neurotoxin to the body. Now, I've worked with a lot of people with a couple of kids with autism and Asperger's, just to name a few, and Parkinson's and MS. I had recently the lady with MS as well. And we focus on how to eliminate the quinolinic acid from the body. When you do that, we're dealing with this body system, not the condition. The condition who's linked to the body system starts getting less and less and less the symptoms. So that's where I focus on that perspective. So
is tell me if I'm saying the quinolinic acid, is that it?
Yeah.
Is that a byproduct of a non-functioning cell?
It's a good question. No one actually really knows for what I've looked at. They just say we've got this acid and it just happens to be in the brain. It's quinolinic acid. And it's common with, obviously, kids with Asperger's and autism and all the other things I mentioned. And it's like, when you do exercise, you produce something called lactic acid. So it's a byproduct of something. But now the body eliminates the lactic acid naturally if the body's efficient. So I actually can't even answer that question in terms of where did it come from.
Well,
I just know how to get rid of it.
Yeah, it just seems like it makes sense. So if the foundation of your work is treating cells and getting them to aspirate correctly, then you would think that if that would have an impact on the quinolytic acid, right?
Yeah,
Being less, or that the toxic cell would be a function of the quinolytic acid. Anyway, it's just a logical
yeah,
thing that popped into
yeah,
my mind.
yeah.
You know what I
No, I
mean?
love it.
Um, so I think you've already explained why the health system's so sick. Or can you expand
Yeah,
on that?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I'm going to say this very carefully. There's a lot of people out there and say the medical professional system is this, the pharmaceutical system is this, and they knock it down in the head. Now, I always say this in another breath, is that we need them. If you have a motor vehicle accident and your arm's sticking out, the bones are sticking out, trust me, you need them there to help you with trauma, and they put you together, but your body heals itself. And trust me, I'll take any morphine if I'm in a huge amount of pain. Trust me, I'll take painkillers. I will take the pharmaceutical medication. Trust me, I will. And everybody out there who's in that situation, I'm pretty sure they would. So we need to always honor them as well. So they're there, they do have a place. So just I always acknowledge that. It's very important that. So we need to really, it's a big thing for me. It's that balance we have. We need to have that. But it's a disease care system. And the word disease, if you break it up, is dis-ease. Your body is not at ease, therefore you have a disease. So that is how I look at that. So I believe the medical professionals are there for a trauma-based situation, but from a disease point of view, it's something that happens over time. We can adjust that and get the body to heal. And this is where we're coming from a different side.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, Phil. I'm sure you've read the Medical Cabal.
No, actually I haven't.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it just kind of describes how the whole medical system got started and how the whole medical system is controlled, and how, yeah, I would really highly recommend you read that. I think that is it just shows the system that you have to work against, that discredits the kind of work that you're doing initially, because it's based on fixing the effect, not the cause, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just fixing chop off the arm, sew it up, you know what I mean? Don't worry about what was in the, that kind of thing. But I think that would be a real eye opener as well. Because it's important to understand the medical industry and some of the fallacies that exist in there, to really acknowledge the level of work that you're doing and how it is in direct contrast to that industry. At the same time, there are redeeming factors that industry has that you need to embrace, what you just said. But I think the more they understand that, the more they're going to appreciate the level of work that you're actually doing. Because that system doesn't train doctors in the way you understand things, and most holistic people don't. Doctors have been brainwashed as well. And as a society, I think we just accept, you just go to the doctor and you just treat them like a god and you just do whatever they tell you. And they're not always the ones with all the answers.
100%. And there's so many different modalities to heal the body. And I think we need to, like there's Ayurvedic, and there's certain diets that people follow, and all different treatments, and homeopathic. And sometimes some of them just don't work for them at all. I mean, I've tried Ayurvedic, didn't work for me. That wasn't my thing. So we need to look and search and see what works for you and what links up together, and then jump all in and do that one. So you're 100% right. 100% right.
Yeah. Unlocking the cells, the secret to letting your cells breathe. I think you've kind of covered that. Yeah. What about healing with food combinations? How do you help people with that?
That was basically, I touched on that a little bit on the omega-3s. So think of and this is a combination of stuff. So when we have the omega-3s, think of them as they soften the cells as well. So they're part of this whole process of cellular respiration. So they soften the cells, they do their thing. Now the cells can receive nutrition because they're nice and soft, utilize the nutrients, and then eliminate the waste. Now, the interesting thing is there are some people I work with, I mean, they're having 2,500 to 3,500 calories a day. Now, I'm not a fan of calories. I don't really understand that much because it's just, to me, I look at it as food. Now, people go, well, you're having 3,500 calories a day, you're going to get, obviously pick up weight. They still lose weight because when the cells get soft to the omega-3s, it actually they become the fat of the essential fatty acids of the omega-3s become part of the cell walls, cell membranes. So when you do a bit of movement or a bit of exercise, it triggers those cells to actually release fat and toxins. Wow. So people, and this is something, and I've worked with a lady I'm just working with now. I think I've been working with her maybe 2 months or so. She's lost 10 kilograms. In pounds, that'll be about 22 pounds.
Yeah.
And she doesn't exercise. She's not a big lady because I believe a lot of the toxins in the cells is what's causing what we're holding on to weight and emotions. Now that's a big, big thing about emotions. We can jump onto that a little bit later. So when these cells have become soft, they release the weight. Now it's not a weight loss system at all. That I don't advocate that at all. And this is how we get the cells soft. Then what I do is the easiest way is to get a lot of minerals into the body because we don't lack vitamins. I mean, you have a piece of fruit, you're going to get enough vitamins, but you're lacking minerals. So I say, let's have some greens. Now, any greens. Doesn't matter what greens are, as long as it's green, and you throw that in a blender. And you load that with minerals. Now, I'm saying about 8 cups at a time. And, you can have anything between 32 and 64 ounces a day of the green smoothies, which is a lot.
But you're not talking juicing. You're talking doing the whole thing together, getting all the fiber and everything. Got you. Okay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. So you use that green smoothie. So it's to give it the fiber, because then the reason why I want the fiber, because if you have juice contains lots of sugars and proteins, whether it's greens or fruits or it doesn't matter, it's still got high levels of sugars and proteins. So the body it'll suck it up too quickly. So you need the fiber for the slow release and get everything working and pulling out cleaning out the bowel walls and that sort of thing. So when we have the high levels of the greens in the smoothie, so you have about 75% greens, you fill up water to the same level, 25% fruit, you can throw any fruit in it essentially. And then you're going to put the quarter cup to half a cup to even up to full cup of the chacks that we spoke about, which is the omega-3s. That's the simple formula that I'm working with people. Now the fruit is there for taste, but remember I also spoke about, you might have heard of something called food signatures. Now, food signatures means signs of nature, essentially. So like I think we mentioned the other day was about, like let's say tomatoes. Tomatoes are good for their heart because they've got 4 chambers and they're red. Now, a lot of people are saying tomatoes have lycopene in them. Now, lycopene is Latin for red. Okay, there we go. Pretty simple when you actually go to look at it. So if someone's got a heart condition or a blood condition, having food that's got a lot of red in it will help for that. So any red fruits, you throw that on top there. So you can actually target those foods for specific organs. And like another one you can think of is like celery. Celery is good for the bones because it snaps like a bone. I mean, it contains the same amount of sodium in bones as in celery. So we can go down that whole route as well. And carrots are good for your eyes because they cut them and they look like an eye. It's like, when you start looking at it, it's all around us for a reason. So then we'll actually use certain foods to target certain organs, which people have, let's say, those medical conditions. Another one you can use is pineapples for the thyroid. Great for the thyroid. So
what's
pineapple?
Pineapple, yeah. Good for the thyroid.
Yeah, definitely good for the thyroid. So you can throw. What's that, Ron?
Oh, I was just thinking about the pineal. Kind of looks like a cone, but then I was going off on another tangent. Okay, because the pineal gland kind of looks like a cone, so I was thinking pineapple, but it was not the same. So pineapple for thyroid.
That one at the top of my head is pineal gland will be almonds as well. They're good for that. But the other thing, what the other nuts that I get people to have is something called walnuts. Walnuts. Now, because they look like a brain, so they're good for your brain. And those are the only nuts that when people are learning to heal their body, they would have walnuts and no other nuts, because walnuts are on that borderline between omega-3, 6s and 9s. Any other nuts have got too many 6s and 9s, and that create inflammation and then slow everything down. So while we're healing the body, we take that out. So, so that's basically what the very basic food protocol that I work with people on. And there's so much more in terms of what foods to have, what foods to avoid, what foods not to have. So we start manipulating it, what works for them. And that's really the program.
That's really interesting, because when you go back to Chinese medicine, and I remember it just triggered my memory about Chinese medicine, how they just have so many different body parts and things that they use to help specific body parts in the human body. And there was always a correlation, but you're doing the same correlation right now. Very interesting. Very interesting.
And I'm so glad you brought this up, because I teach people, because I mean, my theory is you should be able to stand naked in front of the mirror and actually scan your body and get an idea what's going on. That's what Chinese medicine is in the core essentials of it. Now, lines in the face are linked to organs. Like I've had someone who was on the line with me that these big dark panda eyes, I call, like, looks like somebody punched them. That's actually linked back to your adrenals. So your adrenals are on top of your kidneys, you're always stressed out, your adrenals are going to give you issues. And that's a sign. It's like you're driving a motor vehicle down the road. Oh, the oil light comes on. Hold on, we're going to stop in, fill up some oil, get the thing back to track again, and get back on the road again. But us as people in society, let's go get some makeup on, put some makeup on, hide it away, and we keep going. What's happening, that person is highly stressed, which affects so many things. It affects the adrenals, affects the kidneys, affects the HPA axis, the hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenals, and your thyroid goes out of whack. So it's not just about, a supplement or a lotion or a potion. It's actually dealing with the core issue. There could be a massive amount of stress and emotional stress as well. So there's a lot to it.
Now, I've experienced a tremendous amount of stress in life, and I remember seeing, circles under my eyes, like, happening. And I knew it was stress, and I knew my thyroid was linked to stress, so I would take ashwagandha, to support my adrenals, which seemed to work really, really. It seemed to be a really powerful herb that definitely supported me physically. I can feel the difference, But okay, cool.
But that's what a lot of people do, and I love that you went in the herbal, how do you say it in America, herbs, and if you go from that angle, it's like, that's the herbs, and that's the pills, and that's the supplements and the potions, which is great because it supports that. But then we also got to back down and go, hold on, why am I stressed out all the time? What's going on here? Let's look at that. And so it's a combination of things. It's not like one thing. And I think I touched on this before with someone I've spoken to not long ago, where we spoke about thyroid. And it's more common in women to get thyroid conditions. And from the emotional perspective, let's forget about the physical. This is where their voice is. Now think about this. A lot of women are suppressed from a masculine person. Could be father, could be relationships, could be husband, boyfriend, whatever it might be. And they have to it's like sit in the corner and speak when spoken to. And it's all this stress. They don't have a voice. So sometimes, or most times, when I work with people who have thyroid issues, mainly women, and when you start walking through the whole process of the emotional things that are locking and blocking them up and healing their bodies from the physical point of view, they start healing quicker because they're releasing this emotional tension that's going on, and they get their voice again. That is freaking profound, and it's beautiful to see that when someone stands, this is me, and their posture even changes. It's beautiful to see, because when somebody walks, they're like this, they've got the world of the weight in the shoulders, got no voice, they're too stressed out. When you get them, they start healing from within, and emotionally they just open up like this, and they stand in their ground, and they own themselves. It's beautiful to see.
Yeah,
really cool.
My sister was having thyroid issues, and they basically, what do they call it? They just took the thyroid out. That seems like a tragedy.
Yeah, it's a tough one. That your thyroid it regulates your metabolism, for example.
It doesn't make any sense at all. What's it called when you have cancer? What's the therapy they use for cancer? Radiation. So no, they radiated the thyroid out. They put radiation and removed it. Now she's on pills to replace the thyroid, and it just seems freaking ludicrous. You know?
It would be thyroxine to basically bring the hormones back into balance again. So
yeah.
But it could be the stress. It could be like the emotional blockages. It's not just I've got a skin condition, and skin conditions are technically linked to the liver. Essentially, the liver is toxic on the physical aspect of it, but the emotional side of it is I want to be seen, but not seen like this. So if you dig deep into what conditions people have, there's an emotional trauma that could be still locked up back in the past. So it's not just I deal with the physical. My partner actually works with alongside of me from the emotional perspective. So I always say I unlock their cells and she unpacks them. So it's a real great combination that we do.
I love that.
So, yeah.
I love that. Well, listen, we already know that everything physical comes from some kind of emotional, energetic state, period, end of story, right? Because our natural state, energetically, prior to entering the body, has no issues. It's only the body, and our emotions get trapped within the body. And then wherever they're trapped, create dis-ease within that portion of the body, right? And so going back to my sister, that's all about a voice, and that's all emotional, that the thyroid's not working, and as much work as I've done, and my thyroid gives me some issues right now, it's residual work that needs to come to the surface. But the issue that I have encountered in doing my work is people will only heal emotionally to the level of consciousness they have in that moment in their life. And that doesn't mean that 5-10 years down the road, they might have a greater capacity to heal even deeper because they have accumulated certain wisdoms and awareness that allow them to go even deeper to the core, right?
Yeah.
And but that's an ongoing process,
Yeah, it's like an onion. You're always peeling layers, shed some tears, and you go again, and you go again. It's always going to be. And I really honor what you're saying there, Ron, because that you've got thyroid stuff going on, and there is some residual stuff there. And for you to actually admit that, I think that's awesome. And that's part of the healing process. It's really cool that you've actually done that.
Well, listen, if I want to help people transform, it's because I've had to go through a transformational process, and I understand the value of it. And generally, just like you, and we talked about this, I think, before, we generally teach what we've learned and what we've had to go through. So mine has been a great releasing of whatever it may be in a myriad of ways. And I'm not too proud to say that, because this ascension process is no joke. Ascending spiritually is a process of internal energetic frequency transformation, and it requires a complete elimination of everything that is stuck within this physical vehicle. We're not going to transcend what we're capable of as far as our potential unless this vehicle is clean, absolutely clean. And so that comes back to your work, and your work is vitally important. And I'm really honored to have the opportunity to give you a voice that you can repurpose this information and have people have you help people, have you help people on their journey. So let's go into fasting, because you went on a 35-day fast, I believe, right? Water fast?
Yeah, it was water and coconut water.
Okay.
So water got boring to have after a while.
So I want you to talk about your fast. I did a 14-day water fast in 2014, and that brought on my spiritual awakening. So I know how valuable the fasts are, because after 14 days, things were never the same. The wheels started coming off my car. You know what I mean? Emotionally, mentally, because there was a great purge that I that the fast precipitated. You know what I mean? It was like, so 35 days, that's a big deal. So can you explain how that affected your life?
Well, it led up to, there's a whole, I mean, I've always done detoxes, what have you, 14-day detoxes where you're still consuming sort of supplement or herbs, I would say, and powders and that sort of thing. That was fine. But then when, it was funny, I never actually planned this fast. Like, I didn't say, okay, today I'm going to start fasting. My partner was actually running a retreat and I was lazing by the pool. I didn't feel like having lunch. I'll have a coconut. So a coconut and some water. Well, the next day I did it again. And I thought, oh, let's just keep going. So I just went day by day. I wasn't going, okay, we got to do this, because there's so many people like, with a detox, they're going to go hard out. They're going to do all these things. You just got to do less. So I just started doing this. Now, every day that you fast consecutively, you're actually cleaning up 1 year of your life. That's what they say. So if you fasted for 10 days, you've actually now cleaned up 10, or you've evolved, or you've uncovered 10 years of your life. So if you've done 14 days, well, you've gone back 14 years. So I started doing this, and then I got to day 10. I had this really numb, uncomfortable feeling in my liver. It was so uncomfortable, like this numbness, nagging. It was annoying, actually. Now, I didn't like the taste of water. After a while, it started to bore me. So I had some more coconut. Now, as long as I was having less than 500 calories of coconut water, it still gives the same benefit as a water fast. So I was doing my thing, carrying on. And then I started testing the waters. Okay, well, I felt good. I actually even trained. I did a little bit of weightlifting while I was fasting.
I did the same thing. I was weightlifting. I had all my energy.
Yeah, definitely. And I love this because, and then everybody said, no, Phil, that's nonsense. You can't be fasting. Now, the whites of my eyes went so bright because the whites of your eyes are linked to your lymphatic system. So if the lymphatic system's blocked up, your eyes are dirty. So that started clearing up. My skin went amazing, which still is like that now. Yeah, I lost some weight, which wasn't really the main thing. But then this numbness started getting more and more uncomfortable. And I just kept on going. So I did another day. And I got to, might have been day 16. Boom, emotions just threw right out of me. Whoa. Now I go back 16 years. I just started working things out, and it was a tough time. And I started seeing what was going on, and it starts uncovering these things. And emotionally, because remember, when your cells unlock, you start releasing emotions as well. And then it was close to the end. I was day 32, and I was actually in a call with a client like this, and next minute I had this real sharp pain in my right hand side. It's like I actually had to hold the side like that. Now I knew so the liver's doing something, because anger was also coming up, because anger is linked to the liver as well. So that all was popping up. And the lines on the top of the face here are liver lines. I had deep lines here. They actually started going away because the lines are linked to organs. So then this all happened. Then the next morning I went to the loo thinking nothing's going to happen, and I passed two like literally hard clumps out of my body. They were about the size of my thumbnail. They were actually liver stones, and I put a glove on and got them out the loo, and I squashed them, and they were just smelt. They were horrible, but they were sticky like mud, like a clay ball. And then that was the liver doing its thing. And then I got to stage, I actually was trying to go to 44 days, because at that stage I was 44 years old. And I got to stage like, you know what, my body's telling me now, let me listen to my body, because the body always tells you what it wants. And I said, no, I need to break fast. So I did. And then I just had some, that's the only time when I would have juice, because the body, you can't put too much in the body too soon, because it's been chilling out for too long. If you just have a big meal, it's like, you're not going to be good at all.
Can't do that. You got to introduce juices and then broths maybe, and things back in.
Yeah. So I did that, and then I thought, before I jump onto food, let's push the body a little bit further, because I had some stuff coming out the liver. Let me go do a gallbladder flush. So, I put some things together, and I passed about 70 little tiny gallstones that came out of me. My energy levels had gone through the roof. Throughout the fast, I might have had 3 days or 3 half days where I felt slightly off. And then I broke fast and, introduced food again. And the journey was interesting, because there's a lot of people out there jumping into water fasts or jumping into juice fasts, and without really preparing the body. Now I look at it like this, like, hold on, if the body is acidic, and let's say that the liquid around the cells is acidic. So when you fast, you release toxins into an acidic body already, because it's not alkaline. then you feel off. You've got headaches. You don't feel good. I don't know if you experienced that when you're fasting. And then people suddenly they get energy levels and it drops, goes up and down. For me, I was pretty much constant right the way through. And because I'd worked on this beforehand, I'd cleaned the cells up. I'd basically overloaded my body with nutrients beforehand because we're nutrient deficient anyway. Why go fasting now again when you're nutrient deficient? It doesn't really make sense. So get the body cells soft and clean the liquid around the cells and get the body prepped. And then I started, and this is why I felt, because when my cells released some toxins, my body could neutralize the acids, because alkalinity is the ability to neutralize an acid. So if you had that right in the body, everything functions well. So I did this thing, and the funny thing was, Ron, this really blew my mind. I had a friend of mine message me one day, and I'd worked with her getting her body alkaline, and she was great, and she was doing a thing. And then she says, "Hey, Phil, I'm on day 10 of my water fast. I'm feeling great." I go, "What?" Now this lady's 64 years old. I think she made fast about 5 days in her life if she was lucky, consecutively. So, okay, then we got on the phone, worked with her, and to the whole process. Not kidding, Ron. 64 days later, she breaks fast. 64 days.
Good for her. My God.
And her body obviously these toxins. She still was working, cleaning the house, washing the car, doing a thing. But she was having it's a drink called Vegemite in Australia. It's like a vitamin B drink. I don't know what you call it in the US, but you can use it as a spread on your food. Now she just needed that salt in her body because she was limited in too much salt. So that's what she was after. But her energy levels went up. She felt fine, and she's lost the weight because her body has released all these toxins. And still today, she dropped a couple of dress sizes, and she hasn't gone back up again. Because it's common with the water fast or any fasting that you lose weight, which you do, and you put the weight back on. It's because we had the cells soft. And that was my theory. It's like, hold on, we have to do this the other way around. Clean up, alkaline, clean the body out, and then prep it, and then go water fasting. Everyone's doing it the other way around, and that's why they're getting sick all the time and really struggling. And she said to me, "Phil, if you told me I was going to fast for 10 days, I would have told you never in my life." But she says 64 days, and the word she used was easy. That's what she said to me. So, yeah.
It's interesting because when I did the 14, I had done 3-day water fast before. And I don't even know what possessed me, but the 14 days was pretty easy for me. At the end of 14 days, I just said, okay, I'm ready. I'm done. I just felt I accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. And there was something emotional that I felt something inside of me that needed to come out. And that was the impetus to do the fast. And so it was like a higher power that just gave me the strength to do the 14 days. And, I was drinking a couple gallons of water a day. Anytime I felt hungry, man, I was just drinking that water, right? But then the spiritual awakening came on, and then the emotion stuff from early childhood came in, and I got exposed, which I talked to you already about, and so you're inspiring me greatly right now to take this whole thing to another level.
Yeah.
Okay. Another level. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Cool.
So what happened to you consciously? I remember during my spiritual awakening, which was right after the water fast, the whole matrix broke down. I can see all the lies, all the systems, all the control systems, from education to government to food to everything, all the systems that controlled our sovereignty as a spiritual being. And then I was getting divine downloads at the same time, which were spinning around, and then you're trying to get a context of what's actually happening here. And so there's a period of time where you actually have to settle. Did you experience anything like that as well?
Yeah. What I did say, what I did experience, there was anything close to what happened with you. It was less of, but it actually unlocked this massive amount of suppression that I had inside me, that I was not good enough at all. And it got the certainty came up, but even I have emotions talking about this now, that I knew I had this massive vision in me, and I knew I had this very massive vision to help people. And there was this uncertainty stuck in me. It's like, I couldn't get it. And when it came through, it's like, man, this is what I need to do. I was born to do this on the planet, and now I'm going to do it. And I wasn't really fussed what anybody said to me. If someone's going to stop me for doing something, I wasn't interested. I was like a bull out of the gate. And this is how I've been doing it. And I'm just following my passion. And that's really how I've started, going from that perspective. But I did say I calmed right down since then. My whole body just calmed down. Yeah. Beautiful. Because about 2 years ago, I was told I had ADHD, which just means attention deficit disorder. I just get more things done. It just takes a while to start. I get distracted. So my body was nervy. Now, when my partner, she used to hug me when we first met, she says you could feel me tremor like that, little tremors. Not because I wasn't, she just said, your body's wired. That all stopped. Calm down. And I can sleep better. My body's softer. My muscles are softer. So from the awakening point of view, to me, it was about certainty and unlocking what suppressed me all these years. And I just went out. And since that day, everything, what I've been doing, because I think I finished my fast was early December last year.
Oh, wow, that's soon.
Yeah. My whole business elevated, my relationship with my partner elevated, my relationship with my kids elevated, everything just elevated, just this whole thing just jumped up. But one thing it did do, it kept me grounded, and it still keeps me humble. There's no ego. It doesn't lie there. It's gone. Just chill.
Beautiful. So during that process, did you recognize your spiritual contract?
I'm a kind of a strange one. I just go with the flow, and it's just, I just found certainty. I knew where I was meant to be, and that's just really where it just gave me that.
Yeah, and the only reason I mentioned that is because for me it's obvious, and because we actually have a contract when we come here. You know what I mean? We have a soul contract of what our relationships, what we're here to learn, et cetera, et cetera. And when I got in touch with my spiritual contract, when I knew what my purpose was, then it was a game changer. And all I had to do was those activities. So my purpose in life is to remind people who they really are. And I remember questioning, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? What's my purpose? This was 18 years ago. And then one day I realized that when I was building businesses, I always asked, what's your purpose in life? What's your purpose in life? And have that be the foundation for their business success. Because I felt like that was the most solid foundation, the most authentic, transparent foundation for success. What could be more transparent and authentic than your sole purpose? And have that be the foundation of which you grow upon, right? Yeah. So you came in, whether consciously or unconsciously, you came into the awareness, at least energetically, of your soul contract and why you're on the planet. And then, because I believe when we become on purpose, we become a service. And when we become a service, we become a part of something bigger than ourselves. And there's a benevolence that you can feel that comes in and brings you the people, places, and things that support your acts of service, right? Yeah. And that's just a resonance I get from you because I've experienced it myself. And your work is putting people on their path as well, because we can't fulfill our soul contracts unless we're healthy.
100%. Yeah.
Can't do it. Yeah. If we're worried about health all day long, then we're in survival. We're not in service. And when you're in survival, you only think about yourself.
Correct. Yeah. 100%.
Because you're surviving. And when we're in service, we're thinking about other people.
Yeah. I mean, and I totally get it now. I can see where you say how I indirectly found my spiritual contact, even though I may not have used the right verbiage, but I definitely see exactly what you're saying now. Totally get it now.
You felt it. Yeah. You were moved. But and I purposely kind of interjected this into the conversation because I want those listening to understand that they have a contract. They have a contract, and it's their unique genius. It's their own unique genius, and you have your own unique genius, and you're living your unique genius. So, part of my goal in life is to help people fulfill their spiritual contracts without compromise. And that's a key word, without compromise. Earning earning a living while doing what you came to earth to do, and not having to go get a job that is meaningless for you, right?
Yeah.
That only allows you to exist. And there is a gap that you have to cross, and it takes courage to say, I am not going to accept anything less than my sole purpose. And I'm willing to encounter the consequences of making that decision, because I know at some point I'm going to have to come out the other side. But life is not worth living anything less. It really isn't. So
it's making so much sense what you're saying, Aaron, because I always used to be a financial planner. That was my back end story, really. And then I would help people to get insurances. And some that couldn't get the insurance to the life cover, you got to go for blood tests. Some that were declined, go to some health tips, try this, come back later, and then the guys start getting their cover. So it made sense. Over time, I didn't like financial planning because it wasn't fulfilling me. So to cut to the chase, I ended up working as a forklift driver. Loved the job, because the only reason why I did it, because I go to work early in the morning and finish at like lunchtime. Then I can get on the phone and do what I did, and I would go to people's houses and present and show them these things. I didn't sleep much, but there's a bit of a sacrifice you had to do. And I did that, and I kept on doing it. And so one day, well, this one is making me more money than this one, or coming close to it. Let's get rid of the other one and jumped all in. Yeah, I mean, and then I want to see people shine, Ron. That's all it is. Just see them freaking shine.
Yeah. Well, you know what, dude? You're authentic. You're really authentic in your purpose. And, I just really applaud you, because I know what it takes emotionally. I know what it takes emotionally to make that decision. And it takes a lot of courage and a lot of belief in yourself, and to know that you're doing the right thing. And so, yeah, I applaud you, man, for the work you're doing. So let me ask you, we're at about an hour right now. So let me ask you this question. What would be your like, given what we haven't discussed, what final words might you have? And by the way, I want you to let people know how they can contact you and everything else, but what's the most important message you think you can give to people if you summed everything up right now?
Before I give you that, I want to share two things.
I have another question for you.
What's that one?
That I forgot to ask was the whole baking soda.
Oh yeah, okay. We'll jump in there in a minute. Yeah, I'll talk about that now.
You go ahead.
Yeah. Now there's when I talk about alkalinity, and I'm going to try to sum up as best as I can. This, if your listeners are listening to this right now, this is when you take a breath, breathe in, relax. What I'm going to share right now will challenge you from everything you know right now with to do with health. One thing that many people are doing is drinking apple cider vinegar and lemon juice. And they're saying to you, it's alkalizing the body. It's doing the total opposite. Now, if you've just heard that right now as a listener, take a breath in, and then is this guy randomly messing with my head? No, this is pure science. Now, I'm going to talk about apple cider vinegar. Now, people are saying, if you drink apple cider vinegar, and you test your urine, sorry, just hold on, my voice is going. So you drink apple cider vinegar, and then they say it alkalizes your body. Now, every single organ produces alkalinity. So if you drink something acidic, the organs are going to go, oh, hold on, here's acid. I'm the organ, I'm alkaline, like the liver, the kidneys, the bones, the pancreas, the skin, the heart, what have you. It's going to pinch alkalinity from all those organs to neutralize this apple cider vinegar that's in the body, because the body always has to be in balance. So then everybody's going along and they urinate on this litmus paper, which tests your pH of your body. And they go, look, I'm alkaline because I'm drinking apple cider vinegar. And they go, that's great, but take a different piece of litmus paper and test your saliva. Now your saliva is acidic, but your urine is alkaline. And this just confuses everybody. Now, let's just go back one step and go, if you have a swimming pool or a fish tank, you test the water in the pool, not the water going out the pool. So why do we test our urine, which is the water coming out the body, and not the extracellular fluid and the saliva that's in the body? because you're living in this vessel. This is your temple. This is your permanent address, as I call it. So we need to test the alkalinity of the body, of the what's in the body, not what's going out. And this challenges so many people. So I feel, but apple cider vinegar makes me feel great. I said, yes, go and study something called the citric acid cycle or the Krebs cycle, which is KREB. That explains that whole thing in the science level, what I've done. But then what challenges people, they say, no, Phil, but I'm feeling great. I said, yes, because the Krebs cycle releases carbon dioxide and oxygen, and the oxygen is making me feel better. But they still challenge me, and they say, no, Phil, that doesn't make sense. I'm alkaline, I'm drinking apple cider vinegar. I said, okay, go do that for a week. Even let's go do it for 2 weeks. Every single morning, you have your lemon juice, and your apple cider vinegar, and your honey, and all the rest of it. And then go test your urine. So go head off to the pharmacy or the drugstore, and you get those testing strips. They usually test for ketones in the body, and they test for blood in the urine. Sorry, ketones in the urine, blood in the urine, pH. Another thing we must check is calcium. So when you urinate on that stick, you'll see your calcium levels are high. Why are they high? Because your bones contain something called calcium carbonate. Calcium carbonate is highly alkaline, and the apple cider vinegar is leaching it out the bones. Wow. And I've got this calcium in the body. And then it goes in your urine because the body goes, what am I going to do with this? Because I'm trying to neutralize this acid, which is apple cider vinegar and lemon juice. And it rips it out the body, and then eventually your urine can tell you straight away you've got high levels of calcium.
So that alone, and I've been doing apple cider vinegar for years, and we talked about this, that alone, and I haven't done it since we talked last week, wouldn't that put us in a state of adrenal stress?
Oh, any stress. It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, if it's going to pinch alkalinity.
If I'm bringing alkalinity from all my organs, my body's got to be feeling this stress.
Yeah.
So could that alone could be a reason why my thyroid is a little bit off, or this or that or the other. Well, that is a link. Yeah. That's a big deal. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And what's so interesting is that when people have, let's say, osteoporosis, which is thinning of the bones, it's an acid issue. It's not dairy that's going to fix it, because dairy is highly acidic because it contains omega-6s and omega-9s, which increase inflammation. So when a lot of people get told, have a high calcium diet and have some calcium supplements. Now think about this. Your bones are leaching alkalinity, which is pulling the calcium out. It's getting the body, and it wants to eliminate it. Now you're taking more calcium food, high calcium foods, and more calcium supplements. Many people have something called bone spurs. They've got to go for bone spur scrapings, because they've got osteoporosis. Because there's so much calcium being thrown in the body's pulling it out to try to keep the balance together, and it can't get it out quick enough, so it goes and deposits on the joints. And behold, we get rheumatoid arthritis. You get the thickening of the knuckles. I've helped a lady, within 3 weeks, she went off her pain medications. Within 3 months, or within 3 weeks, her fingers are doing this. Within 3 months, her fingers are going longer, and her knuckles after 7 months are getting smaller. I believe her fingers will straighten up like normal, because there's acid buildup in her joints. That's all. And she's doing this. She's happy. She's doing manual work, cleaning houses, no pain. No calcium supplements, no calcium food, no high calcium food. So when you look at it, I challenge everything. I've always been one of those ones to go against the grain. It's served me now. It's serving me, not serving others. And the same thing applies to lemon juice. Now, I'm not saying do not have apple cider vinegar. Have it in a salad dressing. So that's different. Don't drink it. Don't drink it. Have it in a salad dressing, because it helps break up the fats and helps for digestion. That's what its purpose is, but it ain't going to be there to alkalize the body. It's not going to happen. Gotcha. It doesn't happen. Gotcha. Yeah.
Great advice.
So that's really profound. If that's the best thing anybody can do right now, is to eliminate dairy, wheat, and gluten, would be the 3 things, and eliminate apple cider vinegar and lemon juice if you're drinking it. Have it in a salad dressing, done. That's fine. So that's very challenging for many people to hear that, but research it. And when I heard it, I was like, what? I had to, go back and start studying it. And then it made sense when I understood the Krebs cycle. And then I'll combine that with the omega-3 pathways. And then that's how, when you can reduce inflammation. And so it's kind of cool when you actually understand it. And you can heal your body with supermarket foods, Ron. That's what I'm trying to say. You can go to the health food store now, or the supermarket, and heal yourself. Just like
I understand. That's beautiful. What kind of you want to talk about your programs? So do you have any programs coming up or?
Yeah. Thanks, Ron. I've actually got a program starting next week, but that's fine. If you jump onto my website, which is www.philhoare.com, it's PHILHOARE.com. You can see all the programs that are run there. They run for 6 weeks at a time. And I love doing it. Every time I get so excited when people get their wins on it. It doesn't matter what it is. Could be, I mean, we have someone who had psoriasis in the head for 7-8 months and it's pretty much eliminated. We had a kid with autism, calmed down within 5 weeks. And I mean, he was holding the phone like this and talking to me. His mother said he's never been so calm in 25 years. And I'm getting emotional on the phone with her. Beautiful stuff to see. But we teach stuff about how to get on the alkalizing protocol. We look at foods, what to have, what not to have, what to eliminate, and we adjust it for each person individually. So it's a group sort of program, but it's also individual calls in the middle of that with every person every week. I teach people the stress, how to find the stress. We find out your why. But sometimes to heal is not, you don't only heal the skin. What's the why? We go a bit further into that and help uncover that. So we touch on the emotional stuff and put them together. But I also teach people more on the Chinese medicine point of view. And I'm still learning this because you've got the same amount of teeth as you have vertebrae, and the vertebrae are linked to organs. So we start teaching people that. My partner talks about posture because sometimes your posture is slightly out. It could be, because you've got the left-hand side is feminine and the right-hand side of the body is masculine. Certain postures can be because there's some hidden traumas from a masculine and could be masculine suppression or whatever it might be. So she works on that. And when you start working on that, the posture actually changes, which is all part of the healing process. Then I talk about lines in the face. I'll talk about meridian lines. I'm getting into meridian lines as well. And the interesting thing is I had 2 moles over here. One's fallen off. This is the lymphatic system over here. So moles are like, I always believe that little warning signals on a meridian line, which is linked to an organ. Something's not happy. So clean up the organ, get it more efficient. The moles, the warning signals go away. And I've got another one actually coming off. It should come off in about a couple of months. So that's a process. But then I go into another thing, which I do. I look at people's blood work. And now this is all self-taught stuff. I haven't got a certificate on it. But blood's like music. There's a drummer, there's a guitarist, there's a singer, and a bassist. Individually, you can handle a drummer making noise for a while. He'll just annoy you. Same thing with all of the other guys in between. Put them together and you make a song. That's how you have to look at bloods. You can't look at them individually. You've got to look at them collectively. So this is where I show people to read their bloods as well. And if they're on medications, I don't tell them to get off anything because I cannot do that. I show them what to look for. So if their thyroid is actually improving, their blood pressure is improving, their cholesterol is improving, hey, why don't you go to your medical professional? Say, hey, I'm on this medication. Why do I need to take so much when my blood's looking better? They're like, oh, great, thanks for the awareness. And then they can actually reduce them. And this is how we show people and empower them to be their own self, let's say healer, if that's a better word, because it's not me. I'm just giving them tools. And this is how we show them how to do that. And yeah, we're running another one in October, and we're going to do some more in next year as well, 3 or 4 a year. So yeah, and it's fun when you just see people shine. It's like, oh man, it's the best feeling ever.
It's awesome. So is your website the best place for people to contact you, or what's the easiest way to contact you? Your website?
Yeah, on the website, you can go on the website. You can find me on Facebook. I've got a business page, Autoimmune Specialist. You can find me there. So yeah, just, on email I usually don't get, I get so many emails every day. It might go missing. Find me on Facebook and message me, and that's the quickest way to actually find me. So yeah.
Beautiful. This is I really appreciate interviewing you because it raised my consciousness today. You know what I realized? It's like, with the work that you're doing, like I do deep emotional work, you might call it shadow work, you know what I mean? Where I help people just release those emotions. But you're working at the level where you're facilitating the body to be a more of a direct conduit to our consciousness.
Yes.
So for our consciousness to flow more effortlessly through our body.
Yeah.
And which immediately signals to me our levels of intuition and awareness become greater because we can actually communicate with our we already can communicate with our DNA and our organs and everything else, but to where it's a more clear conduit of awareness that where we can actually communicate, because you're taking it to another level, and I really appreciate that. And I'm looking forward to taking some of your advice
cool.
as well. So I want to thank you. Anything you feel complete?
Well, you know what I love to do, Ron, is come on again.
Oh, we can do that.
There's so much more. There's so much more. I want to teach people and let them help understand body systems, not conditions.
Well,
and I'm putting that together as well. Yeah.
We'll do that. We'll do that, and we can have this was more of an introduction into awareness. Recently, I did a 5-part podcast with a gentleman named Fernando Vasa, and he's a biofuturist and visionary, and he's about sustainable energy. And we did a 5-part podcast so that people can really understand the depth of his work. And so, at some point, I'd love to have you on again, and we'll narrow it down to a specific subject matter and make that happen. Okay, so we'll do that soon. Cool. So on that note, thank you, Phil Hoare, for sharing all your wisdom. I'm Ron Ario. This has been the Journey to Awakening podcast, and we'll see you on the other side.